Welcome to the Re-Entry Archive, the Blissful Nirvana of Ignorance, a Psilocybin experience report, taken from Erowid.org. The set. I had had my mushrooms sitting around for a while, in my house, waiting for an appropriate time to take a dose. I had already experienced a low 2-gram dose with my partner, and had experienced some mind-blowing connection, love and empathy, and since had been waiting for my tolerance to drop back down to try a more intense, heroic dose. Psychologically, I was at a crossroads. I was mid-semester of my neuroscience psychology degree, and I just failed psychology by 4 marks. So I was deciding what to do with my life and wondering if I was on the right course, wondering whether I wanted to take up a career in dancing, pursue my passion for writing, or put more time into the production of music. I was unemployed at the time and hadn't worked for 5 months. I still don't have my license, and these were basically the only self-esteem issues facing me at the time. I was a little apprehensive, but basically ready for a spiritually enlightening experience. The setting. At home. I usually live near campus in the country, but was visiting my parents for the holidays, and decided the comfort of home was a very good place to experience a spiritual trip. It's a place for me that is recognised as safe and holds some nostalgic attributes. I also had a little head cold that wouldn't leave, and when it's winter, the warmth of the inside is very comfortable. The trip. I sat and ate 5 grams at my computer desk and chatted away on MSN, general ranting, and a discussion with some friends, so they knew I was attempting a trip. I chose to trip by myself to avoid any possible social anxieties. Not that I'm the type to get social anxiety easily, but people tend to distract my thought patterns when I have to change the direction of my thought to communicate properly. My ideas so commonly don't convey easily into English, especially when I'm on a high dose of psychedelics. About half an hour later, I get up to go and watch some TV. And I take another 2 grams to consider eating once I get upstairs. After about 10 minutes, I get paranoid about forgetting them, or losing them as the visuals start to take effect. I start over-analysing the TV show I was watching. It becomes overwhelmingly easy to relate the scenarios to my life and absorb points of view as opposed to language. About 30 minutes later, I'm tripping quite hard and beginning to experience a bit of nervous anxiety as my thoughts jump erratically. I am unable to find comfort in my altered state. I head downstairs and decide to go outside for a bit. As I head downstairs, the walls tried to eat me as they kept stretching and closing in towards me. It was all good fun. I wasn't really scared, just feeling a little discomfort. I stepped outside and was blasted by some fresh winter air and comforted by this soft glow that looked like it was a dream. The road and grass shined and appeared to be softened, like when a cloth filter is put over a camera. Everything looked nice and just wobbled, grew, shrunk and melted. I even noticed a strobe-like effect in my vision, as I'd noticed points of interest in my vision would dart around the place. I went running down the road, which eventually turned into a skip, and then weird flowing movements. Basically, whenever I felt. It always feels so good sober and was even better now. I was lost in the beauty of my body, my energy, and the world. I danced my way around the neighbourhood until I arrived back home and went in to have a shower. by this point the trip was beginning to take its full effect. It had a grip on me, so I went to have a shower, a place of usual heavy insights. Before I had my shower, I looked in the mirror. The mirror got me good. It felt as if I connected with myself on the other side, and we swapped. I experienced everything as a reflection. Suddenly, I was just a reflection of the world that existed around me, a mirror of perception. An overwhelming sense of quantum physics washed over me. I was now placed in a realm of limitless possibilities. As the walls were no longer white and began to pulse with many different colours, like psychedelic acne all over the walls, and thoughts of me eating an orange and confusing it with a certain song were all very possible as well. Walls ceased to exist after this, and I forgot where I was standing, only to look back into the mirror, catch my own eyes again, and instantly, everything was normal. I stepped back from the mirror, a little shaken up by the experience, and stepped into the shower. I was in there for a good half an hour, indulging in multiple body sensations and really appreciating the warmth, cleaning out my lungs, stretching muscles, giving my body a full workout. A fair bit of yoga, and honestly I felt like a Hindu in the shower. I've never felt that attached to that religion before, but it took on a whole cultural experience. I felt a strong cross-spirituality. It's funny how each different psychedelic drug seems to remind me of my spiritual readings. LSD has a strong Buddhist edge. Mescaline definitely has a connection with the peyote religion. The two C's feel like Greek mythology, but mushrooms make me feel Hindu. Unrelated but still interesting, whenever I eat apples on LSD, they always cause me a very unique experience of their own. I have philosophized that the concept of Adam and Eve's Garden of Eden was just a blissful nirvana of ignorance. Chaos had not yet ensued until they strayed away from their instincts and had hit on a world of experimentation that exposed them to the taught ego and created sins. Anyway, moving along, I got out of the shower and had another go at the mirror again. It lacked the same intensity as before, which left me disappointed. This was an excuse to move on and head downstairs and into my room. Not before getting lost in another mirror, giggling at my own character, lack of balance, and the points of view of reality that make this world so worth living in. I heard my computer beep as someone nudged me on MSN. One of my tripper friends had just gotten home, so I decided to have a chat with him. But hell, I couldn't even spell dyslexic, let alone read it. The whole screen was just a jumble of letters, as my eyes would dart, reading one word at a time. Then I noticed to the right of me an envelope from my university, so I opened it and attempted to read it. Not easy at all. I see 3 English words: trouble and dissatisfied. I read a few more words and try to pull this jumble of endless possibilities together and find out what they could mean. I put on a mixtape of some drill and bass and some psytrance and lay down in my bed with the light on because I couldn't see a thing with them turned off. I was in bed, contemplating my life, my love for my family, my love for friends, my reliability, compassion for others, my positions, my options in life, everything. Although, I must admit, my thoughts were quite erratic and very difficult to hold on to. And this is where I find LSD, or even mescaline, a far better spiritual tool. Then I started to feel quite sick, like I was going to purge soon. I looked in the corner of my room on the ceiling and noticed this red colour, which I confused for the colour of blood. Upon investigation, it turned out to be the paint thinning and the red wood underneath shining through. Though it was enough to bring back the story my mum had told me earlier about a girl dying of a tumour in our house, and I started experiencing very negative vibes from the room. As I'd realised I'd lived in this room for the last 3 years at school, which is when, coincidentally, my grades started to drop. My sister lived there 7 years before me and ended up with chronic fatigue. I left the room, I dry heaved into the toilet, and then lay on the floor in the hallway. My eyes were rolling into my skull at this point, and I felt like sleeping. I felt well on the verge of passing out, like I'd done a lot of mushrooms, and my body wasn't appreciating it. Anyway, I maintained consciousness, though I later regret it, as I feel I may have experienced a breakthrough, dissociative state, similar to alternate realms I'd visited on DXM and ketamine. Oh well, the thoughts became very peaceful as I made up my mind to continue with uni, just change my subject choices for the next semester, find a new job, continue my music production, and just use my time more resourcefully. Euphoria began to wash over me as the intense desire to pass out left me, while I progressively got an increasing desire to actually pass out. Anyway, peace settled, and I danced in the dark in front of the mirror, was able to push my body to its limits, stretch, and dance in a fluid motion. I was impressing myself. I wrote a list of things to do and things to remember. I played with some music and settled down to some morning Christian viewing on TV as I settled into an amazing body high and a clarity, this trademark of the mushroom experience. Eventually, I went to sleep at around 7 AM as I watched the sun rise. I woke up feeling a minor sleep disturbance, but on the whole in good mood, which later bloomed into euphoria that lasted me for the rest of the week. The recurring mirror motifs throughout this experience represent a confrontation with the self. The figure in the mirror serves as a visual encounter with the multiple components of the psyche: the shadow, the ego, and the persona. The traveller switches places with a reflection in the mirror, indicating a dissolution of the boundaries within the self which separate these components. The ego, the shadow, and the persona therefore merge into one. Upon this psychedelic union, the traveller finds himself in a place of unlimited possibilities, a wholly authentic and genuine experience of being a fully integrated individual. Mirrors typically represent psychological self-integration. We are forced to encounter ourselves as we are, not as we wish ourselves to be. We either accept and integrate the reality of ourselves, or we attempt to bypass it. At one point, the traveller finds himself laughing at the character in the mirror. This is a brief appearance of the trickster archetype, as it highlights the ridiculousness of the restrained and refined seriousness of the persona. Laughing at the reflection here is a classic example of the trickster facilitating a healthy deflation of the ego. Throughout this experience, the overarching archetype, however, is that of the seeker. This character is one who is looking for meaning, purpose, passion, and alignment. If integrated, the seeker can help one find meaning and motivation and purpose. But if left unintegrated, the seeker can lead to avoidance, restlessness, and dissatisfaction. After this experience, this traveller may wish to reconnect with the seeker aspect of their psyche. I may even wish to ask questions of the seeker. What exactly am I looking for? How will I know when I found it? And perhaps most importantly, after this search, how will I make it home again?